Most people stop when the odds are 99% against them. The guests on this show are the ones who think, but that 1%.
The co-founder of Dave Sa Chicken, Sona Oganesyan, was on the podcast.
Yeah.
And he said, you have to have Bill Phelps on.
Oh, that's so funny.
And so here we are.
That's funny.
Thanks
I would have said the same thing. Yeah. He and I love his story, and he was the genius behind the brand. Whenever I talk about the brand, I talk about Armin. And he was the high school dropout who, he said he didn't, people talk about C students. He goes, I was lucky to get C's, he was, but he probably had learning disabilities. He had no attention span, but absolute genius. And he saw things that most people don't see, and he had a marketing sense that Harvard MBAs don't have. And he brought that to the brand. And the biggest thing, though, I talk about was his insanely contagious positive energy. And that was one of the drivers of Dave's.
You touched on so many interesting points that I want to ask you about, because first of all, we've read so much about it's always the C students who are the entrepreneurs, the visionaries, right? Me too. But I don't know if I'm as successful as you guys yet, but yeah, no, but it's so interesting. So I wonder, is it that, the school model just doesn't cater to the creativity of...
It certainly doesn't cater to the creativity, but I had learning disabilities when I was young. I had dyslexia and ADD. And I think Armin probably had the same thing. My father-in-law was a C student, and he became the CEO of Nestle, which is just kind of crazy.
Your father-in-law was the CEO of Nestle. Wow.
Nestle USA.
And you worked at Nestle.
I worked at Nestle, right.
So what is your background? What did you study?
The background, I studied economics at college, and I had gotten into a school called Middlebury College, and it was a great school, way over my head. But I got in because I was a good basketball player. But
you certainly were tall enough for
it. Right. I studied, but I studied economics there, and I learned a lot. And then I worked for Nestle early on, but one of their divisions they bought was Carnation Company. I worked there, and I did marketing there. And then my father was an entrepreneur. My father, you ever see little rawhide dog treats called Chewies? My dad invented that.
Wow.
And so that was the spark of entrepreneurial flair, whatever. My father, and I went to work with him. And we built that business up to like a $70 million business. And then I went to him and I said, we need to sell this because our competitors are way too big. Way too powerful. I pushed him to sell the business, and we did. And we did a deal with Nestle in 1990.
Okay, but you're studying in school. I mean, are you feeling like you're actually getting the knowledge from college?
No,
Is it hands-on experience?
I had no idea what I was doing when I was at college. I mean, I was studying economics. I'm taking other liberal arts classes and everything. I wasn't a motivated student. I didn't really have a vision for what I wanted to do. But after college, and I was working with my dad, I got the entrepreneurial flair, and I became a hard worker, and I liked doing it. But I would always put myself in situations where I was kind of over my head. And so I would struggle, but as I struggled, I got better and better at whatever I was doing.
Do you feel like you could have done it without the education?
No, maybe, but the education pushed me. Again, I was in a school that was really hard. The college was really hard, and it pushed me, and I got the idea of perseverance and just going and continuing to work hard when something is very challenging, and that's what I got from college.
So you had all of this success with your dad, and then how do you get into the business of pretzels?
Okay, Rick Wetzel and I worked together at Nestle, and he'd heard about the pretzel stores being a really good concept. So we went on a business trip with Nestle, And we went into a mall and we saw a pretzel store in the mall, and we said, this is really good food. It's delicious. It's low in calories. It's low in fat, and it looks like it's cheap to make. And so we went to a bar at a restaurant, we're having a dinner that night. We grabbed a napkin at the bar. We wrote a business plan on the back of a napkin for what was to become Wetzel's Pretzels.
Do you remember what you wrote?
Oh, it was all the ideas of the products we could come up with. The whole idea was we wanted to be the Ben & Jerry's of the pretzel business. And we wanted to bring the cool, fun, hip, irreverent style to the pretzel category. And we were pretty good marketing guys. We had no idea what we were doing as far as running a restaurant. And that was really hard. And we were like the 10th player in the category. So we had a lot of things stacked against us.
So there's already a pretzel store that you're reviewing. What is it that you feel like they're doing wrong that you could do better? And so you're like, we're going to enter this business.
Yeah, the idea was bringing the fun to the category and bringing the different flavor profiles to the category and having a brand behind, a name behind the brand. And we did a lot of research. We spent money on the research, and the people loved the idea of a brand that was started by a founder named Rick Wetzel. It just was fun.
It's more personal.
Yeah, it was more personal, and it was cooler, and it made for a cool story.
Yeah. And I've heard you say that you didn't feel like the other company was doing a good job marketing-wise.
Yeah, they were good operationally, but it was a little boring, and it wasn't that exciting, and they didn't have the variety that we had, and they didn't have the new products that we had. 80% of what Wetzel sells today was not on the menu when we started the business. And we came up with all of these products over time that really blew up the business.
So are you paying attention to what the customers like and what they're requesting?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's how
we're
you're
constantly
navigating?
adapting and making it better and better and better. And that was the thing we learned at Nestle. It's the constant improvement of everything you do. And you never rest on your laurels. You're constantly making it better and better and iterating. And when we were there, I remember we were doing about $300,000 a unit. Auntie Anne's was doing $500,000 a unit. And, how are we ever going to get there? And today, Auntie Anne's does about $750,000, and Wetzel's does about $850,000 to $900,000. It's just unbelievable.
I've also heard you say that one of your marketing shticks was having a line out the door.
Yes.
So is that something that you allow to happen organically right from the start, or do you kind of fake it until you make it?
Didn't. Well, we intentionally did it. We would be out sampling in front of a store until a line would form. And that was part of our marketing. And one of the greatest marketing tools in any retail business is if you have a line. And Americans think if there's a line there's something good there, so they get in line.
What was priority with marketing for you when you first started Wetzel's Pretzels?
It was all in-store marketing, but it was creating a fun merchandising look to the store. That was the big breakthrough. And we took from something that was pretty boring to something that was really fun and kind of out there.
So what did you feel like you could apply from your success with Nestle, where you're like, okay, this is something that I know that a lot of people aren't onto, and I know if we do it with this kind of a business, it's going to work?
Yeah, it was the Nestle gave us the discipline in the marketing process in terms of going to the consumer and doing your research up front and the focus groups and what resonates with guests and what is meaningful to guests. And we learned that very early on at Wetzel's, and we became the marketing company in the pretzel space. And that's what we learned there, and it worked.
What was the important aspect of marketing when you started? Because it wasn't digital marketing.
No.
So what areas were you focusing most on?
It was all in-store. It was all new products and the in-store design and the posters that we created, all of that. That's what it was. It's mind-boggling, the evolution of the business.
Did you need connections in order to get a good spot at the mall? Because that's a really important aspect of it.
And the real estate thing became incredible, and you understood real estate because this location is great, and 20 yards away from that is a bad location. And you learn it's micro location. It's not being in the right mall, it's being in the absolute right location within that mall that makes or breaks the business.
And then do you have these relationships through your previous work?
No, we built the relationships over time, and we were the entertainer in the business, and we used to take the landlords out to Lakers games or whatever, and we were the fun brand, and we used to do stuff like that to entertain the landlords, and we got a lot of locations through that.
You know, it's interesting. It seems like personality and positivity is such a big part of your brand.
That's true.
Because when Armand was here, the way that he spoke of you, it was just so positive, and he was so excited. And I thought, wow, you know, there's so many business relationships that are just tough, you know, and yours seems smooth sailing because it just really feels like you respected what these guys were doing.
Absolutely.
And you have this, it feels like an equal partnership. We'll get to Dave's, but I just really wanted to touch on the fact that personality is such a big part of it, and it's so nice that you get to create this positive environment with the people that you work with. It seems like that's your philosophy.
Yeah, it totally is, and that's where Armin and I were very much in sync, that he brought that insanely contagious positive energy, and I was able to build on that, and that was part of my personality. You know, we were incredibly generous to our people. We made it really fun. We spent money in crazy ways, but that's what made it so much fun for everybody. Nobody quit. We had nobody quit in the 5 years that we were running the business.
Okay, back to Wetzel's Pretzels before we get to Dave's. So when you start Wetzel's Pretzels, you're already thinking franchise.
Right.
What was your experience in the beginning? Did it go as you expected?
No. We had no clue what we were doing, and we were bringing in franchisees that had no experience in the restaurant business, and they no experience in business, and it was a zoo for a long time. And then I brought a guy in by the name of Vincent Montanelli, who was a great operations guy who'd worked at McDonald's and Baskin and Jamba Juice. And he brought the discipline to the business. And we were able to instill the discipline. We got the weaker franchisees to sell out to the good franchisees, and the business turned around. It wasn't overnight, but it was over a 4-year period. We dramatically improved the operations of the stores. And as you take an undisciplined franchisee, they might be doing $300,000 out of location, and you'd put a sophisticated franchisee in, and they would do $400,000 out of location. They win, we win. It was great.
And the business model for something like this is volume, right?
Yeah, it's about the volume that you do on those stores, because at $250,000 you make no money, you make very little money, and at $400,000 or $500,000 you make a ton of money.
So what were some of the biggest obstacles in the beginning? What were the unexpected difficulties where you're like, wait, this was supposed to be smooth sailing?
Well, the fact that we had so many competitors, and we were the 10th guy into the category, and most of the malls already had a pretzel store. But we didn't realize is you could put 2 pretzel stores in a mall. And the mall, the pretzels were the #1 snack food in the malls, and you could have 2 in a mall, and they would do really well. And so it worked very well for us, and we were able to grow the business. And we put the Pretzel Time out of business, if you will, in California, because we were so much better and we took over a lot of their locations, and the momentum started going.
When you first started, your overhead was too high?
Yeah, it was low in the beginning, and then we got investment money from pretty sophisticated investors, and then we added too much overhead, and it was a disaster, and we almost lost the business. And then Rick and I pared back the overhead, and we ran it tight. And I learned that lesson forever, that you have to keep a tight overhead in order to have a successful business.
What were you spending on that was unnecessary?
Just too many people. Too many people and too many senior people in too many positions to make the model work. And so we had to trim it down dramatically, have a lot less senior people, and we did the work until we got it to a certain level where it was working.
So how much money did you start Wetzel's Pretzels with? Did you start with
it's
investors?
So funny. No, we started with the three of us. It was me and Rick Wetzel, and then we had a chef who was an early investor, and he came up with all the recipes, and he did a great job. His name was Bill Phelps. He gave us, but he didn't believe in the business, and so we each put in $50,000 each, and then it wasn't enough to get it going. We said, well, we're going to do another round of $50,000. He goes, yeah, I'm out, because I don't see it going anywhere. And so Rick Wetzel and I really took the business over, but we had his recipes, so that was good. and then we ran the business for a couple of years, and then we brought in investors who were sophisticated Hollywood investors, and they helped us a lot, and they got us going.
So why didn't he believe in the business?
Well, the first store, the sales weren't that great, the first store, and so he said, yeah, I'm out. And so he put in $50,000. I think I called him back 8 years later, and I said, I'm going to send you a check for $1.5 million. He said, I don't think it sounds like a lot, which is really crazy.
And I mean, that was back then.
That was back then, yeah.
It's definitely a lot back then.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
So why were you so sure about the business?
I loved the product. The product was always great. The consistency between our businesses, one thing that's very consistent: the food is great. The Wetzel's pretzels were delicious. When we did Blaze Pizza, Rick and Elise had a great recipe, and it was delicious pizza. And then Dave's Hot Chicken, the product is off the friggin' charts.
Well, you've said that entrepreneurs get bored and they have to go to the next thing, right?
Yes.
So at what point do you decide to transition from Wetzel's Pretzels to Blaze Pizza?
I never transitioned. I was on the board of Blaze, but I was still the CEO of Wetzel's. I stayed with it for a long time. I stayed with Wetzel's from 94 until 2018. So I was there a long time. And I loved it. It was the journey of a lifetime. And then during that time, I think it was in 2012, Rick and Elise came up with Blaze Pizza, and that took off like a rocket ship, and that was an incredible business.
Was that the first of its kind?
No, we had a couple other guys who were trying it, but it became the fastest growing, and we were taking over the category.
So what do you attribute your success to with Blaze? Because let me just tell you, when Sona Oganesyan was here, I asked him, I said, okay, you've had this success with Dave's Hot Chicken. Do you feel like you could repeat it? Because sometimes, it's almost like a fluke. And he was like, no, I can't. And you are an example of an entrepreneur who has repeated that success over and over and over again.
Okay.
So now with Blaze Pizza, how do you start? Why do you decide? I mean, obviously you're so successful, you can get into any business at this point. Why did you choose that as your next venture?
Rick and Elise Wetzel were looking for a place to get pizza for lunch, and they couldn't think of any place. They couldn't see any place, couldn't think of any place, and so they said, let's go to Chipotle. They went to Chipotle, and they go down the line, they get it, and Elise Wetzel goes, why doesn't somebody do this for pizza?
Oh.
And they went online, they saw there's a new oven, and a new technology where you can cook a pizza in 3.5 minutes. And they started working on it, and they came up with Blaze Pizza. And I looked at the business plan, and I go, where people doubted us on Wetzel's, everybody said that's a good idea. And Blaze Pizza, everybody was on board. And then we got LeBron James as an investor. And when it was announced that LeBron James was an investor, I think we got like 1,000 franchise leads in the next year. So it became really an incredibly fast-growing, great brand very quickly.
So you said where people doubted Wetzel's, they didn't with Blaze. What were the advantages of Blaze's business model?
I say that Rick and Elise Wetzel did everything right. All the mistakes we made at Wetzel's, they didn't make here. So they brought in really good people. For franchisees, you had to be a multi-unit fast food operator of another concept. And so they were able to bring in great operators, and that's what the difference was. And they brought in a great group of people at headquarters that really knew the restaurant business, and they put an incredible team together. So they did an amazing job. Again, all the mistakes we made at Wetzel's, they didn't make them.
So you basically have to vet who the franchisees are. Like if you own a car dealership and then you want to open a Blaze Pizza, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
The answer is no.
Yeah.
And we're not arrogant or any of that. It's about you have to bring in people that know how to run restaurants. That's how you grow effectively and efficiently, and that's what we did. And so we would turn it around, whereas we were out trying to sell Wetzel's, and we would, if you could fog a mirror, we would sell you a Wetzel's in the early days, and that's what we had to do. On this business, it was like that we were interviewing the franchise candidates who said, explain to us your business plan for your market, how you intend to hire people, train people, get real estate, finance the thing, and we would look at their business plan and we would approve them based on the quality of their people in the business plan.
How do you keep it consistent with so many different stores, though?
It actually isn't that hard as long as you have a great system, and we brought in great operations people to put in systems that made it work really efficiently. And so we had that, we got to that at Wetzel's, and we absolutely had it at Blaze Pizza. The quality of the pizza was off the charts because we had really great systems, a base product that was incredible, and then we had great franchisees that executed and turned it out really well. And we did the same thing here at Dave's. One of the founders, Armand's partner, said, Bill, how are you going to maintain quality as we open up hundreds of locations? And I said, because of the simple system that we have and the quality of the franchisees we're bringing in. And it was true. Our Yelp and Google scores have only gone up over time as we've opened up 200 and 300 and 400 restaurants.
So what happens if somebody's dropping the ball and they're getting bad reviews? Do you get in touch with them?
We get in touch with them right away. I mean, we're on to, we know every store every week what their Yelp and Google scores are. We know what the feedback is from the guests on a daily basis. We have people going into the stores and doing audits of the stores, and the feedback is on an incredibly regular basis, and we don't let people fall off in terms of quality and service.
So what happens if they're falling off? What do you do?
You have a conversation, and our operations people are amazing at Dave's, and they're incredibly professional. There's no yelling and screaming. There's no lawsuit threat. It's an understanding, you have to fix this. And we tell them, you have to do these things. These are the things we're going to need these things fixed over the next week. Certain things have to be fixed that day, but in general, this is what we need to have happen. We have to have this happen. And if the people aren't right, you have to change your operations person or you change your manager if it's not working right. But we coach them. We coach them to make it a better business because that's in everyone's interests. And our team is great. In the franchise business, the way it works is if you're not running well, then you have to get what's called a default notice where you're in breach of your franchise agreement. And then if it doesn't get better, then you can terminate a franchisee. We've never even gotten to a default notice at Dave's Hot Chicken. We have great operators. They know what they have to do. Our people are wonderful. And we are able to maintain the quality and service with conversations and with continued expectations, and training is a huge part of that.
Okay, so let's get into how you discovered Dave's Hot Chicken.
My son actually went down and saw the guys in the parking lot. And my son came back to me and said, Dad, you got to look at this one.
How did he end up there? Because this is when they're in the parking lot.
He
They
saw
started
the
out with
article
$900.
in Eater LA, and so he went down based on the article in Eater LA, and he went down and he tried. He said, "This thing is incredible. You should look at this." But I didn't go down and look at it until they had opened up the store on Western Ave.
So how long after your son told you was that?
About 6 months.
So what was so incredible about it? I mean, a lot of people have startup businesses. So they're in a parking lot. They start out with $900, but your son is so impressed. What is he impressed by?
Taste the product. The food tasted delicious. And anyone that went to Dave's had the same reaction that I did. Okay, this is incredible. We got to do this. I decided in 2 bites that I wanted to do the business.
So you're sold on the taste.
Absolutely.
Are there other factors? Are you looking at the design?
I mean, on top of it, I mean, you have to look at the quality of the product is absolutely critical, and the quality was out of this world. But then it's also the guys. I love their personality. I love their energy. I loved their entrepreneurial spirit. All of that was great. We looked at the financials, and we saw what they were doing for revenue, and it was off the charts. And we saw what they were doing in terms of social media, and that was incredible. And so it just all worked, and we were able to come to a decision very quickly on doing a deal.
Was there anything that was a red flag for you?
No, I looked at the logo and I thought, well, we got to change that. That looks really weird. That's really ugly. And over time, I realized what a genius Armin was, because I said it's ugly like a Shar-Pei dog is ugly. It's ugly at first, and then you realize how adorable it is, and you just stay with it. We never changed it.
Wow. So when you are walking into this meeting and you know that there are potential partners,
Yep.
Are there things that you're, just based on your past experience, things that you're looking out for that either reinforce your interest in doing something with them, or the opposite, that kind of are you confidently just like, oh, I don't care, I'll take a chance? Like, what's your approach?
Well,
for these
no, you
meetings?
have to vet the thing. I mean, you send your operations people in and you say, okay, can this work? Can we scale this and make it big? Are there things that block us from scaling it? And they say, no, we can scale it, we can build it up. And then you go to your financial guys, do these numbers hold up? Does this make sense? And then you put a business plan together for what you can do, and it's all seemed to make sense. And then the guys are people we felt we could work with. There are people that have run really great businesses and make a lot of money out of a restaurant, but you can't work with them. There's just something there. You can't work with them, and that's fine. Some people are meant to be entrepreneurs themselves and not partner with anybody, and they want to own it. It's fine. But these guys had the ability to work with us and we felt there was a good chemistry there.
Did you anticipate that it would be as successful as it's
No,
become?
no. Tommy, who was the third partner in the business, kept asking me, you think we could be worth $1 billion? And my answer early on was, yeah, probably more likely you're worth zero, because that's the way businesses are. You know, you tend to flame. Most businesses flame out at some level. And so I'm always, I put that out there that failure is an option, and you have to work your tail off and get very lucky for it to work and really grow.
So you said with Blaze Pizza, LeBron James was an investor.
Yep.
And that really catapulted the success,
Yes.
right? So are you thinking again, media collaborations?
Yeah, and as we did the deal, the guy that represented LeBron called me and he said, I want to get a bigger piece, a bigger share of the business, as we were looking for investors, and we were going to give him a couple of percentage points. And he goes, I want more. And I go, if you can bring me one of your superstars. He represented a lot of stars, and I said, if you can bring me a superstar, then maybe we can do a lot more for you. And he went through his list of Arnold and Bono and Jimmy Buffett and all these people. And then he said Drake, and I said, okay, you bring us Drake, we can do a big deal. And we did the Drake deal.
And you just see the difference.
Oh, Drake was a perfect partner. Mm-hmm. Drake was almost at the pinnacle of his career, and he brought that cool factor that was part of Dave's to the business. He reinforced that. And he had 130 million followers on Instagram. And so he was like a magnet for the brand. And so we saw that as a perfect fit.
So you meet the guys, you really like them.
Yep.
What are the first steps that you take? Are you bringing other investors in? Are you working on the marketing?
Yeah, we go out, you put a business plan together, then you write up the contract for how we work together and what shares, and then you got raising the money, easiest thing we ever did. You know, we raised the money in about 30 days.
Is that because of your success that you were able to raise money so easily?
Part of it. Yeah, I mean, my success and what we had done. The investors in Wetzel's had made 11 times their money, and then the follow-on investor made 7 times their money. But at Blaze, the investors made 50 times their investment, and so people wanted. It was really easy to find investors.
Can you give me a little bit insight into how do these business deals work? What kind of shares are we looking at? Like, what's a good deal? What's a bad deal?
Yeah. Well, the beauty of the franchise business is you don't need a lot of money to start these businesses. You know, people think you need, $50 million to start a business like this. We started Blaze Pizza with, I think, $2.5 million. And the number was fairly similar at Dave's, the $2.5 to $3 million range.
So what goes into that $2.5 million?
So all the investors came up with the money, and so we parcel it out, and I got a big piece, and movie producer by the name of John Davis, he got a big piece of the business, and then we went out to friends and family and brought those people into the business.
And then when you already have such a track record and you know what you can do to these businesses,
right,
you come across these young guys that are totally inexperienced,
right,
and they're really nice guys, but you're generous. You are making really great deals. Is a part of the philosophy that you want everyone to be happy? I mean, because it's easy for young guys to get screwed over.
And it happens all the time. When we did our deal, the private equity firm they own a lot of restaurant companies, they said they've never seen founders make this kind of money. They've never seen it before. And because usually the founders are diluted early on or at different stages. And in this case, the founders had to cut themselves a really good deal, and the founders made a fortune on the deal.
So is it because they were advocating for themselves? Or
They were advocating for themselves, but they had something really good, and they believed in themselves, and we gave them value for that, and it exceeded all of our expectations.
Is there anything that would have been a deal breaker for you as far as what they were asking for? Because a lot of times when young guys or when young entrepreneurs are not making a lot of money, and suddenly they come across something that could be a massive opportunity, there's the thought process is, this could be a great opportunity, but I could also get screwed over and get kind of pushed out of my own company.
Yes, and they were concerned about that, as they should have been. They watched the movie The Founder about McDonald's, and the McDonald's brothers got totally screwed out of their business. And these guys did a very good job of protecting themselves. They did a great job. And we had to control the business. We had to have the majority so that we could control the operations, and so that if we get in a fight, we have to have the decision. We were very respectful of their opinions and their thoughts, but we had to be running the business. That was our position.
And then so what kind of rights do they maintain?
Well, they own a big percentage of the business, and they have anti-dilution rights and all kinds of things like that. They were very well protected.
So do you think in these kind of deals it's important to have a really good attorney? Or
Absolutely, yeah. And we had great attorneys. They had great attorneys, and they were in good shape.
What about entrepreneurs who are afraid to ask for what they feel like they deserve just because they're afraid to screw up the deal? What would your advice be to them?
That's where it's just finding lawyers and business people. I say, you have to build your team around you, and one of those people is your rabbi, per se. Who's the wise man that you are able to talk to about, is this a good deal? Whether it's a lawyer or an accountant or an incredibly successful business person, you reach out to those people and you get a sense for what's fair, what is what I'm asking for appropriate, and then you get confidence in what you're doing by having those kind of people around you.
Before we continue, let's take a quick moment to chat with this episode's sponsor, personal injury attorney and founder of A&L Law, Aninol Bundian.
Congratulations on earning your title as super lawyer.
Thank you.
Personal injury is such a competitive field. Do you feel like you have to also work on visibility and self-marketing?
Absolutely. I feel like it's a saturated field.
What's one thing people say after a car accident that can completely ruin their case?
I'm so sorry.
So what?
That could be used against you. When you say things like that, the person on the other side is going to run to the insurance company, and that's the first thing that they're going to say. And that can be used against you.
Make sure to visit anlaw.law for more info. That's anlaw.law.
So when you first started out, you actually could have accepted money from your father.
Yes.
As an investor, and you refused it.
Yes.
Why?
Because I didn't want it to be, and it was my father-in-law also wanted to put money in, and I said no, because it wouldn't really validate the business if you're getting money from your father-in-law on the business, and by going with the other group who was real qualified investors who did this for a living, it wasn't because you were related to them. It was because they believed in the business. And we made the right decision. And the investors we had were very active, very challenging early on, and very helpful long term.
What do you feel is the biggest mistake that you made along the way that you've learned from?
these businesses can be way bigger than you think of initially. And so you can think bigger, and you can think about what these businesses really can be. But it's also, at the end of the day, it's all about team building. Every part of the business, from your investor group to your management team to the franchisees, your success is all about the people you surround yourself with. And we were lucky enough to surround ourselves with really great people in these businesses. And the other thing you learn is on that team building, you have to get rid of the people that don't fit within your organization. And you need to do that faster, because the toxic people can be difficult and can make the business tougher. And so that's critical, but it's really all about team building once you have a concept you believe in.
What do you think are the qualities that set you apart from other entrepreneurs that made you so much more successful?
Oh, that's very nice of you. It's perseverance over time, and surrounding myself with really wonderful people and focusing on that, and being very generous and fun to the point that the good people don't leave.
Oh, I like that. That's so true.
Yeah.
Is there a business that interests you that you would want to get into, but maybe you don't feel like financially it could work, but it's something that you would be passionate about?
I'm not going to reveal all my secrets, but I think, we've been very successful in the restaurant franchise space. I think there are huge opportunities in the exercise franchise space that would be intriguing. Because, again, I'm willing to accept I don't know all the aspects of that side of the business, but there are a lot of aspects of that business that we do understand. The relationship with the franchisees, the local marketing, the operations that are involved, and that is intriguing to me.
So is it you as a creative? Because I don't think it's the money that's driving you. Is it that creative kind of, that desire to create something? And
yeah, it's absolutely that. And it's also, we've talked about this, is that these businesses can be an entity to transform people's lives. Mm-hmm. And we see it. And we take people that are cashiers and they become vice presidents, and we have people that are supervisors and become owners of franchises, and their lives are changed because of this. And that's really fun.
Mm-hmm. How did your dad feel about you starting in the restaurant business?
Well, he was very skeptical about Wetzel's, and they didn't feel, my parents, my in-laws didn't feel very good about the business early on. And over time, they believed in it and were very happy for us that it worked out. And then they were investors in Dave's, which worked out incredibly well. And they're like, do we get to do the next one? Do we get to do the next one?
That's
so
great.
Now it's fun.
So with all of these celebrities who are involved in your business, do you ever get afraid that, like, what if they say something in this whole like cancel culture environment and then it affects your business negatively? Like, do you ever have that concern?
Yeah, you do. You do. And there have been instances. We haven't had, knock on wood, we haven't had any really negative relationships or issues, any negative issues with our celebrities at this point. But it can always happen, and you have to be careful about that.
If you're talking to a young entrepreneur who wants your advice,
yeah.
What are like the crucial things that they should be paying attention to in starting a business?
It's surrounding yourself with the right people. and being ready to work really hard for a long time to make it work, because it takes a lot longer than you think, and you can pick the wrong partners, and those things are the things that can really put you under. And I've seen a lot of partnerships fail. I haven't seen as many succeed, but the critical businesses that succeed, my experience has been built on great partnerships.
So the common denominator is always the personalities.
Yes.
It's interesting.
That's what I see.
Yeah. I also felt like it must have played a really big role that Armand had such a clear vision for, like, when they started Dave's Hot Chicken, he kind of knew that the franchise business is what he wants to get into. And so when you already know that, you're going to try to keep things simple so that it can be reproduced easily.
Absolutely.
You're going to try to keep the overhead low.
Yes.
So what do you think are kind of maybe things that Armand and I haven't talked about, but key things in starting these stores that if you want to get into franchising, like, what should you absolutely not do and what should you be paying attention to?
It can't be too complicated. The products that you're making, there are restaurants out there that are they create fabulous food, but they're not scalable. And so you have to think about that as you're doing something. Is this something that can be repeated simply? That's really critical.
What other industries do you think maybe people don't realize they could be way more scalable if you could create a much simpler formula? So exercise is one of them.
Yeah.
Is there any other industry where you're like, oh, that would actually be cool to get into?
Yeah, the massage industry has intrigued me. The success of companies like Massage Envy and Hand and Stone, those are really interesting businesses.
So are you first thinking marketing-wise, what you would do when you think of...
But it's both marketing and operations-wise.
So what exactly was your role with Dave's Hot Chicken when you first got involved? Because was John Davis already involved? He wasn't. You brought
John
him in,
Davis
right?
and I did it together.
You did it together?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So what role do you play? What role does John play? Like, what are the exact things you do?
An investor and board member. I was the CEO running the business. And so that was a very tough job early on. It's always, the early stage is very tough. And it's tough to get it going. But once you hit the ground, then it becomes easier. And I'm probably not that great in the first year early startup phase, but as you start to scale, that's more my comfort zone, if you will.
You talked about having dyslexia and ADD
Yes.
as a kid.
Yes.
Now, in retrospect, obviously, you're not seeing that as a hurdle because you've become so successful and you're a confident, successful person.
Yes.
As a kid,
Yeah.
that may not always feel that way.
No, it's terrible. It's terrible. And when I think the school systems today, they recognize and they make allowances for that in their curriculum with special ed students, and they're much better at it. They understand it, and you get extra time. And I've seen young kids, family members in our extended family that have dyslexia, and yet they're very smart. And it's understood today that you can have dyslexia and be incredibly smart. And when I was growing up, if you had dyslexia, you weren't very smart. That was how it was viewed.
How did that affect your confidence?
It was terrible. It was terrible. It was hard. I mean, you perceive yourself, okay, I'm dumb. If I can't read, then I'm dumb. And you have to deal with that. But over time, you accommodate for that. And I was good at math. With the help of my father, I was very good at math. And I used that, and then I would compensate for the lack of reading ability.
When does your self-concept begin to change?
it just evolves over time. My confidence because of that was probably lower than most people's until I started succeeding in business. And then, I can do this now.
Do you remember your first successful moment in business where you actually thought, oh, I might be really good at this?
Yeah, I was doing new products in the Friskies Pet Care division, and I was coming up with new products and putting marketing plans together. People would go, "Oh, this is really good." And I was like, "Oh my God, I can do this." And then I did it with my dad's business and came up with products that really improved the business. And you just get to it, but you still have you still always think about it, and you're constantly trying to prove yourself.
Mm-hmm. Did you get into economics because your dad was pushing you to?
Yeah, probably. Economics, if I had to do it again, it's not one of the most fun subjects in college. I'd probably be a history major if I went back.
Really?
I find history really fascinating.
Me too, but I feel like that was maybe one of my mistakes, that I really paid attention to what I was passionate about and what I was interested in. I wish I majored in business. I feel like it could have helped me in a lot of situations had I been a business major,
right.
Instead of first getting into philosophy and communications.
But the business, nothing prepares you for real business. I've known people that have gone to the best business schools, and yet they're not really prepared for running your own business and what's involved in it. Running Wetzel's was the greatest business school you could ever go to. It was crazy.
Do you feel like if you had to start today, that you would have had the same success? I was talking to the founder of Porto's Bakery, and she was saying, back then my mom started with very little money at a small shop in Silver Lake. Like, we never could have done that today with the economy and with everything. So
I don't believe that. Look at the founders of Dave's. I mean, the guys had $900 in 2017. Okay, the opportunities are still there. They're absolutely there. We have another business we're doing now, Mike's Red Tacos, and it was started by Mike, and he started in a truck in San Diego, and so.
So tell me about that. So what makes this a special taco experience?
He came up with a birria taco concept, and again, the food is delicious and the recipes are great. And he came to us and said, I don't know how to scale the business. Could we do a deal? And we did a deal.
So tell me a little bit more.
It was very similar to what we had experienced at Dave's, but we had even a better track record at this point. But the product was great. The Mike and his wife Leona were great, and we thought we could work with them, and we were able to cut what's a very good deal for us and our investors. And I brought many of the executives of Dave's Hot Chicken as investors in the business. So we were very excited about it. We're still very excited about it. And then my head of operations, I told you about at Wetzel's, he's now the president of the Mike's Red Taco business. So it's just all coming together.
So besides the fact that it's amazing as far as the way it tastes, what set it apart from other businesses? I mean, there are really there's a lot of
tacos
good tasting
out there.
Places.
The birria, but it's very similar to what we saw at the hot chicken business. There's a lot of fried chicken restaurants out there, but there weren't a ton of hot chicken restaurants out there when we came out with Dave's. And so we were able to take that segment and blow it up and basically become the leader in that segment. And that's what we're trying to do here. Birria tacos are on a lot of menus across the country today. But if you're not doing just that product, your quality isn't going to be as high as we think it should be. We focus on birria tacos and quesadillas and crunch stack, and that's the business, all based on that one product.
Yum. So are you mainly thinking nationwide? Are you thinking international?
Absolutely nationwide. Yeah, we sold rights to about 215 locations.
But Dave's Hot Chicken is also in Dubai.
Yes, we're in
right?
Dubai. We're in the Middle East. We're in Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's
so
pretty
now
crazy.
when you're taking on new businesses, are you again thinking, let's make it international?
Yes. Yep,
That's one of
We
the
are.
criteria.
we are.
So what makes these the most lucrative for you? Like the more countries that you can attract,
the
or
country, the international is a good business, but your core business is domestic United States locations. That's where the vast majority of your locations are going to be, and that's what you have to prove to yourself in the market. And you have to be able to prove yourself outside of California. You know, we have 3 stores open now. They all do well, but you have to go outside of California.
You know what I thought was fascinating was that Wetzel's Pretzels wasn't doing so well,
Yeah.
but then you guys got Disneyland.
Yes.
And that was like the breakthrough
Yep,
moment.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So it could be just one,
Yes.
the right opportunity.
I had a guy say something that was fascinating. He said, the job of an entrepreneur is to do whatever is necessary to stay in business long enough until you get lucky. And
Oh, that's so good.
and that's what we did.
Yeah.
You know, and we stayed in it long enough until we got into Disneyland and the business took off.
You give a lot of importance to perseverance, and it really is true in whatever
true.
field that you're in,
Yes.
because if it's a competitive field,
Yep.
really sometimes some of the biggest actors now that I grew up with,
Yep.
it's not always the most talented ones. It's
Right.
not always, the prodigies. It's the ones who actually stuck with it
Yes.
and didn't give up.
Yeah.
Because eventually some opportunity comes along if you stick with it long enough, right?
And we say one of our investors in Dave's was Samuel L. Jackson. And his story was he was a shy kid who had a speech impediment where he stuttered. And, it didn't look like he was going to do much. And then he created a persona of someone that was different. And the stuttering went away. And then he decided to become an actor. And he got a breakthrough 20 years later.
Wow.
Okay, he stayed at that for 20 years of not much action, and then he got a big breakthrough, and now he's the #1 box office actor in the history of the American film industry.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would do differently if you go back to when you first started?
No, it's been the journey of a lifetime. It's been crazy.
I feel like you must have had a lot of confidence in your entrepreneurship skills from early on, just because you grew up with so many successful people around you.
Yeah, but I didn't. You evolve. What you don't understand is you evolve as a person through these businesses. And I was not a tough, confident person early on in my career. And people tell me now, you're tough as hell. And I go, I don't know. I don't see myself that way. But you have to be that way. You adopt the characteristics of a person in order to make these businesses successful. And it's not a conscious decision. It's how you evolve over time.
Is there a type of food business that you think is just the hardest to get into?
Fine dining business. Oh, it's a terrible business.
Why?
Because the failure rate is so high and the costs are so high.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of friends in the business, and the model isn't great. The food is great. You and I like to go to fine dining restaurants, and it's a great place to go. But as far as an investment and a return on investment, they're not great.
You better go within the first year and a half, because
Yes,
you
right.
probably won't get a chance to
Yes.
after
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's so crazy. I mean, the fine dining has changed so much in LA. Clubs are kind of non-existent. It's just the lifestyle in LA has changed a lot. I feel like when we go to restaurants now, you'll see fast food is doing really well. You'll see like Earth Cafe kind of places are doing great. But fine dining, it's like anywhere you go, it's just empty. It's really hard.
It's really challenging. Really challenging.
Do you think there's anything that they can do that would still keep them busy? Fine dining restaurants that maybe they're not taking advantage of just because they don't know how to. Could it be marketing? Could it be?
Well, I think it's in marketing. There are people that do it really well. There are people that build great business. I went to Javier's a couple of times, and Javier's, there are concepts that are just killing it.
Yeah.
Okay, but then you follow, and then the number one company in fine dining, I don't know if you call it fine dining, but it's casual dining, is Houston's. Houston set the standards. Look at what they do. It's a fairly simple menu, high quality, incredible service. They set the bar.
What about like a Cheesecake Factory? How are they all so successful?
I have no idea. I'm just their products are really good.
Yeah.
They do it great. But that, I don't know how you can make money with all the items they sell.
That's what I was thinking. It's such a long, complicated menu. It's really the opposite.
I don't know how they do it.
And how do you make like Italian, Chinese? Like there's just such a mashup of things.
It's unbelievable
in what they're doing.
But they've done really, really well, and their average unit volumes are still, I think, in the $10 million range.
It's crazy.
Is incredible.
Yeah, like if I could think of what would be, from everything that I've learned, a successful business model, that would not be it.
No, it'd be right at the bottom.
Yeah.
It'd be right at the bottom. Here, let's call it a Cheesecake Factory that sells 200 items on the menu.
Yeah.
It's like, this sounds like a really bad idea, but
Yeah,
they've done an amazing job.
You would say it's so confused.
Yes.
The different kind of dishes, like there's American, there's Italian, there's Asian kind of foods, and it's just, you would be like, okay, this is not going to work, but somehow it's amazing.
Somehow it
Maybe
does.
It's the price, but the prices aren't even that
Prices
cheap.
aren't that good. Their quality is very good. If you go
They're
there,
consistent.
it's incredibly consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that could be a lot of it. And then so when you're looking at where to open stores, are you taking into consideration like, this many people live in a neighborhood and there are this many kids, this is the demographic, like you're having to look at
all that. We look at what competitive fast casual restaurants are there. We look at all of the population, the income, demographics, everything, and we do it with a lot of thought, and we turn down a lot of locations, particularly early on. We turn down a lot of locations.
What kind of locations would you turn down?
We would, a guy says, I have a fast food restaurant. I have a drive-through location that I want to put next to a McDonald's and a Burger King. And we said, no, that's not what you want early on. You really want to go and be in a center where there are other fast casual players, and that's how you're successful. And if you go into a place where you look like a fast food guy, Dave's Hot Chicken is too high priced if people are thinking of it as a fast food place. It's a fast casual place that's going to appeal to the people that go to Chipotle or Panera or Cava.
I don't know how you feel about Greek food, but somehow I feel like I've never had like casual dining or fast food that's Greek food and is good. Why is that? Or maybe you don't agree with me. I don't know.
No, I
maybe
think
you've had good ones.
It's because you can't. The market isn't big enough for somebody to really focus on opening a lot of Greek restaurants. That's my view. Now, you look at Cava is Mediterranean, right? And that concept has clearly caught on, and that is broad enough in terms of its appeal that you can get a lot of people interested in it. But if you said, there are guys that have Lebanese restaurants or even Thai restaurants, there aren't enough people to make that concept work on a broad basis.
That's so interesting. I would think Greek food, because they have the chicken skewers and things that seem to be easy to make, but also if you're going on like the health kind of thing, if you focus on healthy foods.
It can work, but then again, those are niches. And I talked to my investment banker, the guy that sells all of these companies, and I talked to him about a Thai concept. He goes, you don't want to do something that's as limiting as that. You want to do something that has much broader appeal.
So broad.
Yeah.
So as a businessman, that would not interest you to actually go into niche markets. You are thinking, no, let's go broad, make sure we appeal.
As what we've done here is you take a segment of a very big market. Mm-hmm. So you take fried chicken business, we're going to go after this segment of the fried chicken business, which is the hot chicken market. And then you're the best at that.
With tacos, though, at this point, it's universal enough. Like people
but
just
tacos for sure. We're doing the same thing with the Mike's Red Tacos. Is you got the whole taco / Mexican business, and we're taking birria, which is a smaller segment, but a huge opportunity.
We don't have really great Mexican food in Armenia, so maybe you might want to look into that.
Okay.
Into coming to Armenia too. Do you think of a country like Armenia being too small of a market because of the population?
You have to be in the right market. You have to go into a place where other fast casual guys have made a business work. The number one population country, most popular country in the world, I think, is India. Mm-hmm. And yet their fast casual businesses aren't that great. So I look at that and say maybe that's not a great opportunity for some of these businesses.
So there's just no demand with their population?
Right. It's the fast casuals are too high priced. Mm-hmm. KFC kills it. Okay? And if you have a low to medium price point, you can have incredible appeal in some of these other markets.
KFC, I think, is doing really well in Armenia, as far as I know.
Internationally, they're incredible.
Yeah. And then we have a Burger King that opened up several years ago.
Burger King do really well internationally.
So then, is that what you would be looking at? The numbers of like how's Burger King
but you have
doing?
to look. But no, we have to look at how does Panera Bread do there? How does Chipotle do there?
And you wouldn't be the first.
Right.
If that doesn't already exist, you wouldn't take the risk yourself.
No, because other guys have gone there and haven't done very well. You can have a Shake Shack go into a market. Well, if Shake Shack goes in and it's not working, I don't know that our fast casual would work.
So you kind of gauge the demand based on the success or lack thereof of similar types of businesses.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's interesting. I never would have thought of that. Now, I guess it's kind of like when I heard there was something about the luxury brands coming to the Glendale Galleria.
Right.
I think there was some sort of a deal where, like, for Bloomingdale's to be there have to be at least 3 other luxury stores, like Louis Vuitton and...
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't be like the sole kind of business.
Whole guy. Right.
It's so interesting.
Before we continue, let's take a quick moment to chat with this episode's sponsor, personal injury attorney and founder of A & Law, Anino Bandian.
Have you ever had a client who messed up their case without realizing it?
Yes. I've had a client who the insurance company likes to play games. They like to call the client and ask them questions and pretend that they didn't see representation letter on file. I had a client that actually spoke to them, gave a full statement to the insurance company, and completely ruined their case.
I've heard that posting on Instagram can actually hurt your case.
Absolutely.
I've read that people actually get in trouble with gym selfies too. Like, it seems so innocent, but they go to the gym, they take selfies working out, and then they claim to be injured and...
Well, it does make sense. If you're injured, you should not be at the gym doing reps. or lifting heavy weights. But people do that, and actually it really hurts their case.
Make sure to visit anlaw.law for more info. That's anlaw.law.
Rick Wetzel's line was that this is not a dress rehearsal for your next life. Okay, this is the only one you get. And so that's why I tell people you go for it. And that's what I push all of the young people to when they come through, is that this isn't a dress rehearsal for the next life. You got to do this, and you can go for it. And if I can do it, you can do it. And if Armin can do it, you can do it.
What do you feel like is the biggest risk that you've taken?
Well, going to starting Wetzel's was really a huge risk. That was a huge risk. And people didn't believe in it. It was just, people just thought of it as a ridiculous idea.
What do you think it is in your personality? I mean, is it something you're born with? Is it a skill that you acquire where you really have to be able to mute the noise? Because there are always people finding a million reasons why something won't work.
Yes, and you have to understand that, but then you have to believe in your concept, and you believe this is going to work. And I've always believed, because the products that we had are so good, I thought we could make them work.
Have you ever failed at anything?
Yeah, I mean, we've had little businesses that we invested in. I invested with a guy, what was it? Remember the Sweet Factory stores? Or that was probably maybe even before your time. But it was you go in and you get candy, different little candy bins.
Was there one at Universal City Walk?
Yeah,
okay,
they had those. And we had a cart that was these beautiful acrylic buildings with candy in them, and they was really fun, really cool. And we were in the mall, we were selling them like crazy, and 60% of the people complained about the price. And I said, that's not a sustainable business. It's just, if 60% of the people are saying this is too expensive, you don't have a business.
Wow.
Yeah.
So was there an option to have lower prices, or was the overhead so high that you just can't?
The cost of the candy was so high, the rent was so high, and it's just like, no, it doesn't work. So we got out of that. Rick and Elise Wetzel came up with I Sold It, which was a really good idea, but to do eBay drop-off stores. And the concept was really good, and you could bring people that don't know, aren't computer savvy, can come in, bring their product. We do all the marketing and shipping and selling, and it was a great idea. It didn't work, okay? And you couldn't get enough people in, and the amount we were taking people thought was too high, and the model didn't work long term. But it was a great idea.
Is there any point where you felt like giving up because you just felt, okay, came up with a couple of these things that I thought would work that didn't?
No, because Wetzel's kept going, and so we were able to keep Wetzel's going. So we had the belief in this, and then when Rick and Elise did Blaze, it was like a rocket ship, and say, oh, we're good at this. And then we did Dave's, and people say, you're a genius. Well, I'm the same guy that he said this is not very smart, two deals ago.
So you have heard that?
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel that you could have, the businesses that didn't work now, looking back, is there anything where you're like, oh, maybe had I done this differently, it could have worked, or I should have known all along that it wouldn't work because?
No, I Sold It was a business that was a great idea. But what you have to do is you have to make the unit economics make the unit economics work before you grow the business. And we did that absolutely at Blaze Pizza, and we did it at Dave's. These unit economics have to work before we can roll the thing out.
Did you ever think about getting involved in stuff like, what's that show called when they eat the hot chicken and during the interview? What was that show called? When they eat the spicy chicken? Hot Ones, yeah.
Hot Ones, I've heard of that, yeah.
Do you ever think about incorporating your products into content either for online consumption?
We've had things like that. We've done stuff like that. And we, at the NCAA tournament 2 years ago, we actually did a Reaper challenge where you had all the different heat levels of days, and one of them was the Reaper. And we had the basketball players tasting all the different ones, and the one guy gets the Reaper. It's like blows his head off. It's really fun.
What's the hot level that you like with days?
Medium.
Medium.
I love medium.
Yeah. Are you able to do Reaper?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I eat it like once a year because they make me, and it's terrible.
Oh my God. I mean, I think that's the level where it's painful. You don't even get to taste the food anymore.
No,
right?
but then I have
But it's a good challenge.
A friend who's a professional golfer, and she's Korean, and for whatever reason, she has a tolerance for heat. She'll eat the Reaper. Yeah, this is really good.
Oh my God.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So at this point in your career, do you feel like there's still a hustle to what you do? Or do you feel like, at this point, I have it all figured out. I kind of have a formula.
No, it's a hustle. Stuff can go wrong all the time. And everything's a challenge, and getting the right people involved and getting the right franchisees involved and getting the right processes involved. All of this stuff is hard. But because you've done it before, it's so much easier to have the answers. We go to a board meeting of Mike's Red Tacos, and we go, okay, this one here, we have an issue here, you do this. We have an issue here, you do this. And it's so easy because we've made all these mistakes before.
And then are there ways that young entrepreneurs can connect with someone like you if they're looking to scale and they don't know how? Like, what does a young entrepreneur do? They feel like they have a great product, but they don't know how to scale. What is the next step that they take?
I think there are a lot of books out there by entrepreneurs. There's the Ben and Jerry's book and how they did it, and I loved that book, and it's great. And there's a lot of there's the In and Out book of how they did it. You just have to become a voracious reader of these stories that are out there, and you learn through those experiences.
It's a really great point because a lot of times you're not reinventing the wheel. You referenced Ben and Jerry's a couple of times.
Yep.
When Armand was doing the podcast, he referenced In-N-Out, where he was like, look, we really liked their business model and we realized we can do that with Dave's Hot Chicken.
Yep.
So a lot of times you kind of just have to look at other successful brands and understand how you can make it scalable the way that they did, even with a different product.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you like to leave our viewers with? What's your kind of the Bill Phelps slogan that you think would be helpful to young entrepreneurs?
You go for it. You go for it in this life, and you take the risk. And if you fail, good for you, and then you do the next one. And John Davis, he said he wanted to look at our next business before he ever invested in Wetzel. Say, I want to do your next deal because you've learned the business by your next deal. And he was a genius because your next deal is better. And then on your third deal, you're really good. And so it gets much easier over time, but you have to go through the pain and maybe a few failures, one or two failures early on, but you can do this. I did it. Armand did it. You can do it.
Armand and I do share a last name. We're not related, but
so funny.
Yeah, and actually my cousin's name is Sona Oganesyan too. So
really?
Yeah, it was like super familiar
That's
when
hilarious.
he came out. My dad's brother's son is Sona Oganesyan. But now, so we have this startup where we are, starting a studio and we're looking to create content. It's not food, but you are such a great businessman. Like, what advice would you give me to make this a scalable business?
It's all about the people you bring in. I said that one theme, it's about the people.
Yeah.
And so for you in particular, who are you going to get to sit here? And you can find the people that are eventually the stars, and you can find the people before they become superstars, and you align with people like that. I think that's a great way to do it. And you have that personality about you that you bring it out in people, which is really positive.
Thank you.
We are the fun company. I took the entire team to Hawaii the first year that we had a good profit year, and I took the entire team to Hawaii. I love the story. One of the managers, operations managers, she got the invitation. She goes, I think there was a mistake made that I was invited on this. No, that's not a mistake. You and your husband are invited to go to Hawaii with us. And that was great. And then after we sold the business and the private equity deal, we took 95 people to Monte Carlo. So we went to Monte Carlo with the whole group and stayed in the best hotel. We had a great time.
That's so amazing. Yeah. Because it's like, you know, even if it's not even just about the fact that you're such a generous, great person, strategically, it's the smart thing to do, because you kind of create this environment of loyalty and happy people. Happy people want to stay at work longer. They want to do a better job because they don't want to lose this great job and the great opportunities that it brings, right?
Yeah, I made 19 people millionaires on the deal with Dave's.
Can I be your 20th?
You have to come work for a long time at a modest salary.
You can't just throw that out there and then expect that I'm not going to say that.
No, and we would have guys that, you know, had worked their whole careers and didn't have a lot of money, and Armin and I and the president and CFO would bring them into my office, and they go, okay, we're going to close the deal next week, and you're going to get $3 million. And they're like, you're doing what? It was hilarious.
I love that about my conversation with Armand, that he said, you know, my relationship with money now is that I feel I could help a lot of people.
Yes.
And I think that really is like having the financial freedom. There are so many things that you just feel like you can do to improve other people's lives. And that's such a gift.
Yes.
If you're not a sociopath and you're a person who actually cares about the well-being of other people, I think that's fantastic.
No, but I said that these are entities that can transform people's lives, and we've done it, and we can do it on a much bigger scale. That's where my head is at.
Is there anyone that you looked up to?
Well, my dad was always very generous. He was incredibly generous, and my father-in-law was really generous, and he was fun, and he made work fun, and people loved working for them. And so those are great models to follow.
Yeah. So you picked up on the stuff
picked up on all of them. Make it fun, be incredibly, insanely generous. That's what it's about. And transform people's lives. Yeah,
people either aspire to be like their parents or do the complete opposite. Yeah. So you're definitely the case that, that was inspired by. Is there anything that you thought I must do differently?
No, I had great role models.
It's amazing.
Yeah, very lucky.
How about your mom?
She supported me, and she was there for us, and that was all great. But my dad's was the entrepreneur in the family.
Do you have siblings?
I have a sister she was a Massachusetts state champ in tennis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was a great athlete.
And then how far did your basketball
I played basketball in college.
My husband's a huge basketball fan,
really?
So you guys might have to shoot some hoops together. Do you still play?
I don't. I stopped fairly quickly after college. It's a young man's sport. Every time I played after college, I got hurt. So I stopped playing after college. But I played tennis for years, and now I play golf. Then I got Armin into golf, and he's hilarious.
Why is he hilarious?
He's the most positive human being in the world. He goes, if I hadn't put 2 balls in the water on this hole, I would have had a par, you know. And he's serious. He's hilarious.
It's really awesome to see what a great relationship you guys have.
Yeah, and we're just so different in our lives and our experiences and where we came from, and yet he's one of my great friends in life.
I love that. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here.
This was fun. This was really fun. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it very much. You're very
Me
good
too.
at this, by the way.
Thank you so much. Thank you. No, I mean, it's just so easy to talk to you, and you've had such an interesting life and career that this could have gone
been
another
crazy.
2 hours,
Yeah.
but I know you have a hard out at 12. So
It's okay. We're good.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was really fun.
If you enjoyed this episode and you want to help us grow, all you need to do is subscribe to our channel and drop a comment.